Okay, so for the second part, we're going to learn how to use the calculator to solve these things. So you're going to need your calculator. It needs to have these buttons over here. It needs to have a sin, a cos, or a tan. If you don't have those buttons, there's almost no point in viewing this video, so you should go to a store and get one. So, let's say we have over here, we have a triangle. And let's say this is 30 degrees, and the length of this is like 6 centimeters, and the length of this is 12 centimeters. And I said, what is the sine of 30? And I said, what is the sine? Because sine alone means nothing, but if I say, what is the sine of 30? And so the question is, and if you look at it, if we label the sides, so this side is the, this side's the hypotenuse, this side's the opposite. And if we remember our SOHCAHTOA, so if you remember SOHCAHTOA, then the, if you remember SOHCAHTOA, then the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So its opposite over hypotenuse is going to be 6 over 12, which is, another way of writing that is 0.5. So the sine of 30 is 0.5. Great. Now, it turns out, because of similar triangles, which I'm not going to get into right now, that the ratio for a 30-degree angle is always going to be 0.5. And in fact, our calculator can tell us that. So the way we do that is we type in sine 30 equals, and it should give you 0.5. Now, as a major warning, a lot of calculators are backwards. If you have a Texas Instrument or some other cheaper calculators, it may be backwards. If you can't figure out how to do it, take a picture of your calculator and email it to me, and I will tell you what to type in so that you can get the appropriate answer. So just to make sure that you're using the calculator correctly, let's cos of 6, let's figure out some things. Cos of 60, tan of 60, sine 23, cos 71. So let's see. So cosine, oh, now one thing to point out, this one's going to be a little bit harder. Usually I'm used to being in the class for this. It has to be in degrees. So probably what you need to do is, if you're not sure what to do, try to see if there's a reset. Some calculators have a reset button on the back that you could stick in with a pin. Sometimes there'll be a symbol that looks like it says like DRG with an arrow, and angles, it turns out, can be measured in degrees or radians or gradients, and they all have their uses. But in grade 10, we are only going to be using degrees. The one you know, an angle is 90 degrees normally. So the calculator has to be in degrees. So if you're not getting the right answer, your calculator is probably not in degrees. So similar situation. If you can't figure it out, take a picture of the calculator, email it to me, and I'll let you know what you need to press to figure it out. I'm going to try to play around with it, or maybe Google the name of your calculator and that. So the cosine of 60 is also 0.5. And the tangent of 60 is 1.732, whatever. Sine of 23, oops, I screwed that one up. Sine of 23 is 0.39073, and so on and so forth. These numbers are, I'm not sure if they're irrational, but they definitely go on for a very, very long time. And then cosine of 71 is 0.3255. And there we go. So we have some numbers. They're long, they're crazy. You're definitely not going to be able to do this with a calculator. So now that we have a calculator, how are we going to actually use this to find something useful? So what we have is we have a calculator. So we're going to have a triangle. So I'm going to call this example 1. And I'm going to say that this is 20 degrees. And this is x. And this is 41 centimeters. And our goal is to find x. So we're going to remember, of course, SOHCAHTOA. And we're going to name the sides. So this is our angle. Then we know that this is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90. Across from the angle is the opposite. And the one left over is the adjacent. So it's the opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. What we do then is we start looking at the ratio. So we know that and we can't say, now we can't just say sine alone, we have to say sine of something. So it's going to be sine of 20 equals opposite. And we don't really know what this is. That's kind of like a question mark. So that's going to be question mark over 41. And then the cosine of 20, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse is x over 41. And the tangent of 20, and once you know what you're doing, you don't have to do all three of these. You can just pick the one that's right. But for now, I'm doing all three. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is, what is that? Who knows, over x. And we want to know the one that has our x and does not have anything else. So this one doesn't work, this one doesn't work, and that's the winner. So that's one we're going to solve. So we're going to move, we're going to say cos of 20 equals x over 41. Then we're going to do some algebra. We have to solve for x. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by the number on the bottom. And then chink chink, these cancel. And we get x equals 41 times the cos of 20. And we tend to put the trig number last for a variety of reasons, so do that. And then that's a multiply. It's 41 times the cos of 20. And every calculator is going to be different. My calculator, I think you can actually just type it in like that. So if you want to get a Casio, that's the way to go possibly. And the answer is 38.53 centimeters. And that's how long x is. In this triangle over here, if that angle's 20 and that's 41, then the length of this is 38.53 centimeters. Okay, example 2. So here we have our triangle over here. So this is 74 degrees. That's x. It's a right angle triangle. We're going to remember SOHCAHTOA. We're going to name the sides. So that's going to be the hypotenuse. Opposite of that is going to be the opposite. The leftover is going to be the adjacent. So sine of 74 is going to be opposite over adjacent. Opposite over hypotenuse, which is x over who knows, so that didn't work. Cosine of 74 is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 28 over, I don't know what that is, that didn't work either. Tangent of 74 is opposite over adjacent, which is x over 28. So those didn't work, that's the winner. So tangent of 74 equals x over 28. We multiply both sides by 28. So then we're going to get chink chink, x equals 28 tan 74. So 28 times the tangent of 74. I wrote the multiply this time. And that's going to give us 97.6. I didn't have units this time, which is fine. We don't need units. It could be just whatever it is. So in this triangle over here, the length of x is 97.65. That's essentially it. I'm going to do one more example where the math is a little bit trickier. And then I'm going to stop. I'll set up for one we haven't used yet. Which one haven't we used yet? We haven't used cosine. So yeah, let's make it so it's cosine. Put the x over there. This will be 32 centimeters. And this will be 59 degrees. Okay. So I'm going to get right to it. So sine, well, let's name the sides. I'll still do that actually. So this one's going to be the hypotenuse. This is going to be the opposite. This is going to be the adjacent. What we can actually start doing now is we look at the SOHCAHTOA. We could probably figure out which one it is already. So we know that we have an adjacent and we need a hypotenuse. So we need the one that involves the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Which one involves adjacent and hypotenuse? It's going to be this one. So we could use cosine. If you didn't follow what I just said, you could just use all three and then see which one works the best. But we're going to jump right to that. So cosine of 59 equals 32, adjacent over hypotenuse, equals 32 over x. Now the problem here is that the x is on the bottom. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply both sides by x. So instead of, before we multiply it by a number on the bottom, now there's x on the bottom. We're going to multiply both sides by x. So chink chink, these x's go away. And we end up with x cos 59 equals 32. And then we have to get the x alone. So the way we're going to get the x alone is we divide both sides by the cosine of 59, by the cosine of 59, chink chink, and we get x, we're running out of space, so we'll do it over there. So we get x equals 32 over the cosine of 59. So it's going to be 32 divided by, in brackets, cosine of 59. By the way, my calculator doesn't even need the brackets, but yours might. So you lose nothing by putting them in. And we get 62.13. And that would be centimeters because we measured in centimeters. And that's essentially it. So I'm going to post some worksheets to go with it. And if you have any questions, particularly with the calculator, definitely let me know. That's all.